Hello, BookTube. I've got one tiny piece of mail to keep our streak going. It could have been more. I did indeed get a bunch of mail late yesterday, and foolishly, I opened a lot of it off camera. I hauled it all in, and I thought, well, I guess reflexively, I thought, well, I'm obviously not filming this late in the day, so I've lost the opportunity anyway, but I could have set it aside and saved it. But it wasn't much. Just some Penguin classics, nothing that would interest you. But finally I came to my senses and realized, oh my God, there's one package that I could open. So we will do that to keep our streak alive, and because it's often a lot of fun to open only one package and bear all our attention down on it. It's a beautiful day here in Boston. There was rain yesterday. I was wrong. Drops of rain did fall. There was rain yesterday, and then it was sticky and cloudy and clammy. And I took the bean out when the rain ended, and we were walking around, and I was thinking, okay, well, that was good, but that's over. And I was wrong about that too, because deep in the night, hours after her last walk, when she was sound asleep on my stomach, and I was reading, the whole world was sound asleep. The street light outside went from flashing red, green, and yellow to just flashing yellow every once in a while. There was no traffic, no noise at all, no people. The only bustle that I heard in the backyard were raccoons. Everyone was asleep but me. A very familiar situation for me. I was reading when suddenly I heard a whisper. Almost like a group of people indistinctly whispering in the next room, and then it got louder and louder, and then I realized it was rain. That particular summer rain that falls almost soundlessly straight down. And we got a lot more of that. It rained for about an hour. So all my cisterns were completely full this morning. But the rain swept out a lot of the clammy feeling. It's still incredibly humid, but it's a lot less humid than it was. It's a beautiful day. Type of day where you can walk forever with a bossy little dog if she wants to. And spoiler, she wants to. But there was one package of mail. That ought to be enough. I have so much to do today. Oh my God, I have so much writing to do today. But also lots of reading to do. It's just I always complain about how much writing I have to do, and a couple of times, sometimes that writing is a chore. I don't deny that. Sometimes a book that I have to review is, I can smell the stink of it right through the wrapper, so I know that it's going to be an ordeal to do. Or sometimes the writing, right? I just recently got through an enormous writing project that was not usually fun to do. But no, there's no complaining today. The writing, I have an enormous amount of writing and reading to do, but it's all fun. So, but first, let's deal with this one book. Let's deal with one package and see what we have. What are we going to have? Oh my, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, talk about good timing. Is this next year? No, this is November 1st. This is by Thomas & Mercer. It's a paperback original. It's going to be $17. Which is $15 too much, but still, it's going to be a $17 paperback from Thomas & Mercer, which is the thriller imprint of Amazon's publishing arm. And this is by Tess Gerritsen. A lot of you will know her for her medical thrillers. And this is called The Spy Coast. Perfectly timed for the 1st of November is the beginning of a BookTube event, a brand new BookTube event. Dr. November starts on November 1st. It's a small event. I and a handful of others are co-hosts for an event called Dr. November that highlights espionage literature, fiction and nonfiction, for the course of November. Of course, there are monster events in November, not one for BookTube and one for the whole of the reading and writing world. Dr. November is not making any pretense of being as big as Nonfiction November, which starts up again in November, and also not as big as NaNoWriMo, which is not specifically a BookTube event, but a lot of BookTubers, I hope, will be engaged in it, which is National Novel Writing Month. But still, this is a book that has spy in the title that's coming out on the 1st of November. How good timing is that? The only bad part is that I don't tend to like this author. In fact, I don't think I've ever read anything that I liked by this author. And I don't know how much of that is personal. It might be that I've never given this author a fair shake. I'd like to believe I have. But decades ago, she's probably changed quite a bit. She's probably a darling now. But decades ago, her impromptu, unscheduled, unannounced visits to my bookstore were often less than pleasant. Let's just put it that way. She would come in. She would say, "Hi, I'm Tess Gerritsen." She always had a bit of an entourage with her. She would come in and say, "Hi, I'm Tess Gerritsen. I'd like to sign my books. Go get them." And we did, of course, because it was always fun to be able to present customers with the option of signed copies of books by an author they really like. So we did. I never personally did, because every time that happened, the only thing I could think to say, and I had several little make-weight teenage managers look at me very nervously because they were worried that I would say it. The only thing I wanted to say was, "Well, you drawing a salary from Barnes & Noble because you just gave me an order." I don't take orders from customers. So if you want to ask me to go get your books, I'll be happy to do it. But no, I never did say that. I never needed to, because when she said go get them, some employee was always happy to go off and do that. They would come and she would sign them. And then as she was leaving, and this happened like 3 times, so it was a practiced reflex. It probably isn't anymore. She's probably a darling now. But as she was leaving those 3 times, she airily called over her shoulder, "Face outs, people! Face outs!" For those of you not in the bookstore world, a face out is when on a shelf of books like these, you have one that multiple copies that are stacked forward towards the viewer, so that the cover of the book is facing out. It was a shelving order. It was, "I've signed them. Face outs, people. Face outs." It was, I'm sure that she didn't think anything about it one way or another, but to me, it said, "There's the baby. How are you doing, baby?" To me, it said, "You are peons. You are not real at all. You're peons. You're servants of mine. I just don't have the luxury to boss you around all day long. But when I'm here, I will certainly order you around. I might not order around you as store manager, but I can certainly order around you." Maybe I was just touchy about that. It could very well be that was the aspect of retail that I hated. But this is a perfect example, a perfect opportunity for me to rectify that, right? It's a perfect opportunity to rectify that. If that bothered me, maybe it's time for me to read this clean, especially since I'm long gone from retail book selling and I'm never going back. And also, it says spy in the title, and I'm a co-host for Dr. November. So let's see what we have here. Tess Gerritsen is the internationally best-selling writer of 30 novels published in 40 countries with more than 40 million copies sold globally. She was a trailblazer in the mystery/thriller genre when she created Rizzoli and Isles, a series, as she wrote about... Okay, I have to put the book down and use not 2, but 5 or 6 hands to get this open. All right, now we pick the book back up. There we go. She's a partnership between 2 powerful female characters who use their respective skills to solve crimes. The series became a global hit and inspired long-running TNT television series, Rizzoli and Isles, starring Angie Harmon and Sasha Alexander. What is trailblazing about that? 2 powerful female characters who use their own skills? Is that what we're talking about here as being trailblazing? Okay. Now, Gerritsen is shaking up the genre again with a brand new espionage series about retired CIA operative Maggie Bird and her colleagues, the Martini Club, which launches with Spy Coast. Okay, so this is the first book in a series. It's written by a female author, and it stars, of course, a female protagonist. No one writes books that don't star female protagonists. They don't get past the agent, much less to a publisher. I'm sure that for retired CIA Maggie Bird, even if she's 90, can toss around heavily armed Mossad agents with her bare hands easily. Like those tea cozies. But this is the first in a series. That's very exciting. I'm slipping into Tess Gerritsen negativity. That must not happen. That must not happen. I'm going to give this author a completely clean slate. So let's hear about this book and hope that it doesn't set me off. In the novel, Maggie Bird has left her spying days behind and is enjoying a quiet retirement as a chicken farmer in a small town on the coast of Maine. But when an agent turns up at her door with a warning that there's been an agency breach regarding her mission from 16 years ago, Maggie realizes she and her former colleagues may be in danger, and their gray hair and advanced ages are no longer a protective disguise. When the agent turns up murdered in her driveway, she gets the message and turns to her local circle of old friends, all retirees from the CIA, to help uncover the truth about who is trying to kill her and why. Complicating their efforts is Purity's novice police chief. What is Purity? Is Purity the small town on the coast of Maine? Okay, remember, Steve is declaring a moratorium on place names that attempt to do work in the plot. Okay, so no more Purity on the coast of Maine, no more Salvation, California, no more Redemption, Arkansas, no more any of that. Complicating their efforts is Purity's novice police chief, Joe Thibodeau, who's perplexed by this eccentric group of senior citizens who seem to know much more than they're sharing with the authorities. Okay, Joe Thibodeau is spelled J-O, but that can't be right, because if there's what was it called again? Novice police chief. If by novice police chief we are meant to infer that the police chief is also slightly inept, maybe bungling, maybe inexperienced, then the character has to be a man. A female character is not. You're not allowed to write a female character that way. So it says Joe Thibodeau, J-O. That seems like the female version of Joe. That's confusing. We'll see. Maggie's hunt for answers will force her to revisit a clandestine career that spanned the globe, from Bangkok to Istanbul, from London to Malta. The ghosts of her past have returned, but with the help of her friends and the reluctant Joe Thibodeau, Maggie might just be able to preserve the tranquil life she's made for herself. Okay. All right. Well, okay. Someone was found dead in her driveway. It wouldn't be the reluctant help of Joe Thibodeau. It would be only Joe Thibodeau. You're a citizen. You don't get to help at all. And if it's someone is picking off agents, well, then the agency would be involved. Not you. You're retired. They have plenty of new agents. They wouldn't say, oh, well, we hear that someone's killing agents up in Maine, in Purity, Maine. But, we've got a bunch of older retired agents up there and a reluctant police chief. They'll handle it. No, we still wouldn't be involved. So let's see here. Tess Gerritsen explains the series' inspiration. Oh, my God. Oh, this could get rough. Okay, here's the author in her own words. Face outs, people. Decades ago, when I moved to Maine, I discovered a quirky secret about my village. A surprising number of former intelligence officers live there in retirement. I've heard some theories. Is it because the agency once used Maine for its safe houses? Is it because Mainers respect privacy and our state is far from any nuclear targets? You think so, do you? Obviously, you haven't researched Maine enough. I can show you the inlet. Okay, anyway. None of the CIA retirees have given me an answer, nor has any talked to me about their previous work. Big surprise. When I'd see them at the grocery store or the post office going about their seemingly ordinary lives, I couldn't help wondering about the tales they could tell. That's how the Spy Coast and the Martini Club were born. Okay. All right. Great. Fantastic. Okay. I know that was rocky, but I am going to give Tess Gerritsen a new try. It's high time that I did anyway. Millions of people have loved this author's writing. Why should I be closing that door merely because I felt condescended to by her 35 years ago? That is kind of ridiculous. It's very South Boston, but it's kind of ridiculous. So we will not do that. I will read this for Dr. November, clean and with a wide open mind. That's what I will do, especially since it's inviting that, right? This is not a Rizzoli and Isles book. This is the start of a new series. It's inviting new readers. A fresh take. Okay, fine. That's what I'll do. So, there you go. One book to keep the male streak alive. That is The Spy Coast by Tess Gerritsen. A good jumping on point for those of you maybe who've heard about this author. I'm sure that your library has a whole shelf of her books, but have never known where to start. Well, here you go. This is the first in a series. This is a place to start. And perfectly timed for BookTube's newest and tiniest can-do event. So there you go. That's the mail. Doesn't have to be very long. It's just one book. I will wrap this up and we will hope for more mail tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.